Welcome back again. Today's reading comes from Luke chapter 18 verses 9 to 14. The parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector. To some who were confident of their own righteousness and looked down on everyone else, Jesus told this parable. Two men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood by himself and prayed, "God, I thank you that I am not like other people, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week and give a tenth of all I get." But the tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven, but beat his breast and said, "God, have mercy on me, a sinner." I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. This well-known parable from Jesus Christ is about the importance of humility and repentance. Here we see the example of the Pharisee who obeys and outwardly lets Jesus know what he does and what he does for salvation, but at the same time, fails to have true humility in his heart. This parable also demonstrates how some people in society, that believe that they are righteous, and still treat others with contempt. The Pharisee keeps to himself, as if he thinks he's too good to be there, while the tax collector is so humble he cannot look to the heavens to apologize for being a tax collector. The Pharisee prays alone, and tells God all the good things he has done, while at the same time, says he is not a sinner like the tax collector. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even lift up his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, "God, be merciful to me, a sinner." Instead of telling God what a good person he is, he asks for forgiveness. The tax collector shows by his posture an awareness of the state of his soul, standing far from the altar of sacrifice with eyes cast downward. His prayer, "God, be merciful to me a sinner," is the foundation of the Jesus prayer, as in the refrain, "Lord have mercy," that permeates Christian worship and personal prayer. Jesus went on to say, "I tell you, this man went down to his house justified, rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but the one who humbles himself will be exalted." Luke chapter 18 verse 14. Justified means forgiven and set right with God, for inward humility is blessed while pride in outward deeds is condemned. Throughout the Bible it speaks of humility before pride. Proverbs chapter 11 verse 2, "When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom." And in Proverbs 29-23, "One's pride will bring him low, but he who is lowly in spirit will obtain honor." Even in Proverbs chapter 16 verse 18, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs chapter 8 verse 13, "The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Pride and arrogance and the way of evil and perverted speech I hate." In James chapter 4 verses 6-8 it says, "God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. 8 Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded." Lastly, Isaiah 2:11, "The haughty looks of man shall be brought low, and the lofty pride of men shall be humbled, and the Lord alone will be exalted in that day." Many nations have risen out of pride and the notion you have to save face. When this happens, many empires have fallen. Joseph read a dream by his brothers that they shall bow to him. In Genesis chapter 37 verses 6-7, he said to them, "Hear this dream which I have dreamed. There we were binding sheaves in the field, when suddenly my sheaf stood up and remained upright. Then your sheaves gathered around and bowed low to my sheaf." Then he had another dream. In Genesis chapter 37 verse 9, he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers, saying, "Look, I have had another dream. And behold, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." Being the one who shall not inherit his father's birthright, believing their father loved him more, and with this dream they told their father who went to him in Genesis chapter 37 verse 10, and when he told it to his father and brothers, his father berated him. He said to him, "What is this dream you have dreamed? Are we to come, I and your mother and your brothers, and bow low to you to the ground?" Then the brothers sold him into slavery and told the father he died. However, when Joseph was a slave he began to interpret dreams. Because of this he became an advisor to the Pharaoh. He interpreted a dream to say there would be a famine, and because of such the Pharaoh stored as much grain as possible to sell during the drought and famine. Joseph was given a high title in Egypt. During the famine the brothers went to him and bowed to him asking him for grain. Genesis chapter 42 verses 5–6. Thus the sons of Israel were among those who came to procure rations, for the famine extended to the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was the vizier of the land. It was he who dispensed rations to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed low to him, with their faces to the ground. Even Daniel came to King Nebuchadnezzar to read a dream. In Daniel and in the end at Daniel chapter 2 verses 46–49 it says, "Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell prostrate before Daniel and paid him honor and ordered that an offering and incense be presented to him. The king said to Daniel, 'Surely your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings and a revealer of mysteries, for you were able to reveal this mystery.' Then the king placed Daniel in a high position and lavished many gifts on him. He made him ruler over the entire province of Babylon and placed him in charge of all its wise men. Moreover, at Daniel's request the king appointed Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego administrators over the province of Babylon, while Daniel himself remained at the royal court. These kings humbled themselves, and so shall we. Have a blessed week.